I've been playing with ClickUp super agents for the past month, and in today's video, I'm gonna show you everything. The good and the bad. By the end of this video, you're gonna be able to build your first super agent in ClickUp with our step-by-step process, and I'm gonna show you 3 potential use cases of super agents that could work for you, but I'm also gonna show you the current limitations of this feature and how I think it's gonna evolve. Now, if you don't know me already and you're discovering me with this video, my name is Ramzi. I'm a ClickUp verified consultant. I founded Upsys. We're an agency that helps companies create solid systems, processes, automations, and agents to work much more efficiently and deliver 2 or 3 times faster with the same team. Now, if you're interested about discovering our process and how we can help you out, you can book a discovery call. The link is down there, and through that call, we're gonna get to understand where are your current tensions and if we can bring you to that dream place where your business runs on autopilot with the help of technological tools. Now, that said, let's get down to everything about ClickUp super agents, and it's probably the flagship feature of ClickUp in 2026. They've been hammering the marketing about ClickUp super agents. It's probably the thing they talk about the most at the moment, and I get it, because I'm pretty sure the vision of ClickUp right now is that you're gonna have a mix of humans, employees, working on the more creative or critical thinking or strategy tasks, whereas agents are going to take care of the lower value, redundant, and high data crunching tasks. So they want to mix that pool of people and agents within a project tool. And ClickUp is by design the right location where you can mix human and agentic or AI interaction. To do so, they've created this concept of super agents, and just to simplify it, think of it like a human that would have a bunch of instructions, personality, memory, context, so that they can execute some very specific targeted tasks for you. And the good thing is ClickUp has made it quite intuitive to set up your first super agents. So we're gonna go through that together. I'm gonna show you how to set up 3 potential super agents. One that's going to take care of your admin, your finance, and that's even going to be able to monitor for due invoices and draft emails to clients. Another one that's a delivery PM. Another one that takes care of triaging your emails. So each time a client email comes in, you're going to see that they're able to understand what it's about and they're going to be able to turn it into a task. So I've talked about this in another video, I think last year, but with a custom super agents, it becomes even more interesting and powerful. And I'm going to show you the end potential. The first thing I want to talk to you about is how a super agent is built in ClickUp. Think of it like a human that has instructions. So they have a role, they have capabilities, they have edge cases, things they need to do and not do. And from there, you're going to give them triggers. So you're going to tell them, with all of these instructions and everything you have to do, your job role, you're gonna be able to work on these specific conditions. So it could be a manual trigger just by mentioning the super agent, for example, or through a specific schedule. It could be every Monday morning or every Friday evening that the agent fires and does what it's supposed to do. Now, after you've given it triggers, you're gonna have to give it tools, and I'll show you in ClickUp what those tools look like. They're basically capabilities. They're skills that your agent has. They're able to create a task in ClickUp, update a task, drafting an email, or looking into GitHub. And ClickUp is trying to open up the integrations into other software. I really think in the future, they'll bring in even more capabilities, like being able to even edit some graphic design in Figma or update a website or code for you. So the potential is infinite and the integrations are huge. If you have a super agent that's capable of fetching information from a place and bring it to another place and keeping ClickUp as the central brain and the cornerstone of your AI, I think they really have an interesting space to play with there. Now, once you've set up these tools, you're gonna have to take care of the knowledge. So the knowledge is about what the agent knows about your business. It could be ClickUp documents, pages, spaces where there's a bunch of lists. Think of it as its data, as its brain, its memory. After you've taken care of the knowledge, there's actual memory. So memory is what the agent remembers from its past executions. So it's kind of like its consciousness. Okay, so I have made this mistake and you've told me it's a mistake, so I'm gonna record it so that I don't make it again. That's what memory is about in ClickUp Super Agents. Now, if you've played with AI and AI agents with external tools, you know that this is pretty much how AI works most of the time, and I've actually created an acronym for it that I've talked about in previous videos. Think of it as the KIT, K-I-T. It has knowledge, it has instructions, and it has tools. And if you remember that, that's more than enough to understand how an agent works. Now, that being said, and all that theory, we're gonna dive straight into ClickUp and create our first admin and finance agent. We have a list called invoices in my ClickUp workspace. So this is part of a CRM where we're storing invoices. They basically get created as soon as I close a client. So what happens is it creates a deposit invoice and an invoice to get paid at the end of a project. It's classic agency invoicing system. But what if clients don't pay and you wanna follow up on the clients that are due on their invoice? Now, obviously, personal assistant, virtual assistants, admin assistants, in your company probably already do that. You might have your accountant doing this, but you can probably turn AI into doing this for you and like preparing the job. And not only is it gonna be a little bit more reliable because tech don't lie and IT doesn't lie. If the data is there, the agent's gotta do it. Obviously, you're not gonna have delays or something, but most of all, you're gonna remove that kind of lower value work from someone so that they elevate the work into something a little bit more strategic or orchestrating. Now, obviously, it's a double-edged sword, and I'm not going to get into the AI replacing our jobs debate. The purpose is to show you the possibilities of this. Now, let's say I want to offload all of these follow-up invoices to AI, and I have a few invoices here that are not paid, so we're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to get into the ClickUp Super Agents. I'm going to create a new one. I don't recommend you to use those Super Agent templates. I've tested them out, and to be honest, the result you get by just starting with a custom prompt are more powerful because they're more tied to your business. So we're going to create our own prompt, and we're going to create our first admin assistant agents. You can obviously explore those agents to get some inspiration, but think of your own business first, please. It's not because a feature is there, it's not because a possibility is there in ClickUp that you need to use it. That's the first biggest mistake that people make in ClickUp. They see a brand new view or a brand new feature or this new custom field, and they just want to use it for the sake of it. They don't really think of, okay, what does my business need? What does my system need to work more efficiently? And that's exactly why they hire us as well, because sometimes businesses have used ClickUp, have used it to its full possibilities, and then they get overwhelmed. Or I've created too many automations or lists or folders, and now I can't really even manage my business. And this tool is supposed to serve you. It's not supposed to add more clutter. So obviously that's where we come, we sanitize things, we often make things simpler than they were and more efficient, to just increase human adoption and increase clarity for the founder. So if you're curious about how to get to work with us at Upsys, just book a discovery call. We'll have a call with you guys, see if you're fit to work through our methodology, if it makes sense for us to work together. And from there, we can definitely help you out, work more efficiently, or automate the mundane with AI and automation. Now, as I said, let's just create our first agent from scratch. So what I'm gonna do is say, create an agent capable of going through my invoices and triaging them, as well as create follow-up emails for clients who haven't paid. And that's it. I've pasted this. By the way, I've just recorded this with my voice, and this is part of my app, Seam. I've made dedicated videos about it if you're curious about how Seam works. It's available for macOS, and it lets you transcribe your voice and a bunch of other productivity features. And from there, before I send that, I'm gonna get into the dedicated list in ClickUp, and I'm gonna right-click it and copy the link and paste it here. The reason why I'm doing this is that so it has context about where I want it to work. So I've just pasted the link to the actual list where my invoices are stored. Now our agent has been working, and it's asked which categories do you want the agent to use: paid, settled, awaiting, due soon. What exactly is an invoice considered unpaid, overdue? So I'm gonna say on the unpaid invoices, and if their due date is overdue, then it means they haven't been paid and you need to create a follow-up email for the client in Gmail. Now it's asking me what's the email, the tone, the language. So I've told it that the emails have to be written in English. It said French just because I have some content in the workspace in French, but that doesn't really matter. A reminder, schedule versus single pass. So it's basically asking me, do you want this to be simple or to be scheduled? I'd rather have this being scheduled, to be honest. That way I know that every Monday at 9 a.m. all my clients that haven't paid are just followed up with. So I'm gonna say use a schedule reminder. I actually like this rule. So the AI is actually smart enough to create a pretty cool rule. So what it just said is that 7 days after the due date of the invoice, the customer gets a first email. 14 days after, they get a second email, a reminder. Obviously, you can customize this rule the way you want as your business works. It really depends what industry you're in, but it's come up with a pretty nice rule, I think. All right, so it's created my AI, and as you can see, it has an avatar. It's quite funny, the follow-up assistant, and we're gonna call it the invoice follow-up AI. Okay, I'm gonna call this one Johnny, and you can give it whichever name you want. Having the description of the role of the AI super agent is actually nice because when you see them in your chat, you remember what they're actually doing. So as you can see, the AI now has a bunch of instructions. Everything I've explained you earlier is in there. So ClickUp has taken care of turning all that Q&A into a master prompt that's actually pretty reliable. And from there, it has triggers, and it happens every weekday, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. And it's gonna follow up on clients. What we're gonna do is trigger it manually for this first time. So I'm gonna click here and click Run Agent, and simulate as if it was the beginning of a weekday at 9 a.m. So I'm gonna click here, and what's gonna happen is the agent is actually gonna run. You have a little notification here, and it should do the job. One thing I haven't mentioned is that in those skills, there's the ability to create a draft in Gmail. Because I've connected my Google account to ClickUp, and therefore it's able to bring those together. So let's wait for the agent to run. And while we're at it, I'm gonna remind you of something. If you want your agent to send emails, your tasks are gonna have to have an email custom field. And to do so, you can obviously automate that. We've created automations for clients that each time a new invoice is created, it fetches the client and brings in the email from there to that field. So these are kind of automations that could run behind the scenes to kind of like make sure the data is there in your ClickUp for your agent to work. Working right now, and it's actually send me a first DM. Hello, I'm your follow-up invoice assistant, and I'll help you to stay on top of your customer invoices. So it's been working through, and the AI is currently probably running through the tasks, figuring out which one have a due date and preparing the emails. While this is happening, and it takes about 5 minutes, I'm gonna create a second agent. And if we get into our example here, we have the delivery project manager agent. So I'm gonna get in here and create a brand new super agent. We have a few here, but I'm gonna create a new one here. And this one is more of a PM. So if you want a rule of thumb on how many super agents to create or what to create, I recommend creating one super agent per space to get started. Because if you create too many, you're gonna forget what they can do, and you're also gonna scatter the information and the memory and the knowledge they have. So if your agents are too specialized, for example, you have one PM, one product manager, one creative director, it's gonna start to be a little bit hard to manage. So I would lean towards creating one agent per space that's capable of doing a lot rather than multiple agents. And all you're gonna have to do is through the life of the agent, for example, if you wanna increase the scope of Johnny, you can send him a message and tell him, now you should also be able to prepare quotes for clients on top of following up of invoices. Johnny is gonna learn from that and add a new role to their role set. So quotes should be created in ClickUp Docs, in the sales, whatever. I'm gonna say whatever, but this is just to show you that you actually can chat with your agent's memory so that it improves its instructions, triggers, skills, knowledge, memory, etc. I'm gonna create a new one just for the sake of this example, because this one has a very separate role. It's a project manager. So I'm gonna say, act as a video production project manager for my agency. Your goal is for my creatives and editors to stay on top of their tasks. You need to tell them whenever a task is overdue, and also give me weekly summaries over what's been done every Friday evening. And that's it. I've just transcribed it, and it's there and starting to understand what it needs to do, reviewing the requests, the superpowers, whatever. So it's going through its process again, and it's probably going to ask me about which space it wants to work in. So what I'm going to do is get in here and find the right space. It will be in the video space. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to say, by the way, you have to create the tasks in the video space. And then it's asking me where should overdue alerts be posted, what should count as overdue. Tasks that have a due date in the past are overdue. And if a task doesn't have an assignee, also signal it by leaving a comment, and the alert should be posted just as comments inside the tasks. So I'm giving it a little bit more of steering, and I recommend you to give it a lot of context and steering as you're building it. The more steering you give, the more details you give, the more effort and time you spend into that setup, the higher quality the output of your agent is gonna be. Okay, you're gonna create in there, schedule times, Europe, whatever. So I only need a weekly summary and daily checks inside the overdue tasks. So then it's asking me which statuses considered done, DME weekly, okay, statuses done, delivered, archived. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So it's got to understand the context of my list as well. It saw the statuses and it asked me what is considered done. So it's smart enough to go check the data and then come back with more relevant questions. And I love that aspect. It really crystallizes the idea of how ClickUp needs to be your single source of truth. Because the more you put documents, clear statuses, clear custom fields and tasks, the better quality your agent is gonna be. Okay, video production PM agent is now live, and it's created it. It has the face of The Rock. That's pretty funny. You can actually have faces of famous people here. I like that. I'm gonna call it the Video Rock AI. And we have our agent. It was smart enough to know which triggers to set up. It knows that weekly on Friday, it needs to do this. Every weekday, a daily overdue check, and so on and so forth. And it has a bunch of skills. So what I'm gonna do is run the agent as well for both tasks, but I'm gonna show you that I could also DM the agent. So I can send a private message to the agent. Hello, can you give me a full report of what my team has worked on over the past week? Be concise and straightforward. All right, so it's telling me no task data. Well, this is a demo space. It's normal. Nothing has happened over the past week, actually. I'm gonna ask for a report over the past month. Let's see how it goes. All right, so it's replied, and here we have the answer. So over the past month, here's what happened. March, main delivery window. I worked on those tasks, some change of directors, EcoSmart, change of director as well. Very strong month of execution, lots of work clustered, high workload, no systemic flags. Okay, so it's saying like it's been a pretty good month. Obviously, this is not a real data, but it's given me a pretty interesting report. Now, it's gonna give me that report as the founder every Friday evening. And I love that because when you want to stay on top of how everything works, sometimes you're happy with a dashboard, but sometimes just being able to read something in natural language just feels a little bit easier to manage. All right, so it's giving me the report. It's probably like that trigger that I launched earlier that finally fired, but obviously you can fine tune and play with that. You could also tell the agent to leave a message in the general channel. One rule set that I've also set for my agency as the PM agent is also that every Friday you remind everyone to log their time. So these are the kind of like systemic tasks that you don't want to forget and you'd rather have like a virtual AI assistant take care of. Now, while we've done this, let's check our Gmail. And if I get there, I should have my invoices payment reminders. And as you can see, right inside Gmail, it was aware enough to get the email of the client, tell them there is a follow-up regarding an overdue invoice, which were due on the 10th of March, 2026. And I can just click send and just shoot that email to my clients. And the agent has taken care of everything for me. So if I get back into what Johnny did in ClickUp, it looked up those overdue tasks, and indeed, one of them was for Vertex Studios and the amounts are correct. So it's able to just read through the follow-up and find the invoice number and send or draft at least that email for now. In the future, I'm pretty sure ClickUp will allow to send emails directly, but I think right now they're a bit cautious with what AI can do and gate it a little bit, which I think is good and safer because AI is not smart enough sometimes and still makes mistakes. So you always need to double check and have a human in the loop. And then like when you're happy about it, click send. Now there was 2 AI super agents in ClickUp. I'm gonna show you one last super agent within ClickUp that's capable of reading incoming emails this time that come into a ClickUp list and just turn them into actionable tasks. So we're going to set that up again, new super agent, and we're going to tell each time a new client request comes in the dedicated list from my email inbox, turn it into an actionable task and move it to the most appropriate project list. I've been wanting to do this for ages. I haven't found something smart enough to do it, and I've tried to do it with Super Agent, and I'm going to show you where it breaks. You need to be aware that this still is imperfect and has breaks and will eventually improve, but we're going to be able to do some pretty cool things with that. So it's asking me how should it handle the intake, where should the request be routed. So I'm going to find that video space where I've created the client request list and also copy the link of the video space. Again, it's to give it context. If you want, by the way, you can also press add and it shows the locations, but it's just faster for me to just find it. Here is the space of all projects, and then emails come up here. Just got to put the list to the client requests. That way it has context and it's able to understand what I want to achieve. Perfect. Gives me the intake. What should happen? I will say transform and move it into the right video project list. That way, each time a client asks me something, it just goes into the to-do list and it's just an actionable task. Use simple client name matching, but if no match, yeah, I'll say that. Keep it simple. So that means if it finds the client name in the email, it's actually capable of just reading that client name, matching it to the list in ClickUp and bring that task. So then assignees, when the agent routes a request, how should it handle assignees? I'll say try to use, and then I'm going to mention a document. We actually have assignee rules. I'm going to click send here. And while it's working, I'm going to show you that we actually have a dedicated document in ClickUp where we have rules for who's assigned for what. I've shared that in a dedicated video earlier on where we were working with AI automation, and I'm going to reuse that document so that I know that this person is the project client documentation, this person is visual research, this one is video production, and it's actually able to assign the task to the right person. So I'm going to leave this and say, okay, handling non-client requests, leave it in client request with a comment. Yeah, that's fine. So it's basically asking me about like a few details and edge cases and rules, which is good because sometimes there's something you don't foresee and AI just reminds you what happens in there. What would you like to happen, you know? And it's created the super agent, client request router. So we're going to call it, I don't know, Sarah client request router agent. And then we are going to check out the automation, which says each time a task is created, launch Sarah super agent. Okay. And we're going to test this agent. And to do so, we are going to go into Gmail, and I've already drafted an email that is supposed to drop into that client list, Greenlight Studio. So I'm going to click send there. And what's going to happen is it's going to create the task here and it's going to clarify it, and it should move it to a ClickUp list of the appropriate client, which is Greenlight. So we're going to see how it goes. And just as a reminder, there's a feature that lets you email tasks to list. So it's this one here, email to list. And I've just copied the link here of the email address and dropped it into my Gmail. The task has been created while I was speaking. It's in there and my AI should catch it. Now look at what happened. The email looks like a real client request from Greenlight Studio asking to confirm the final deliverables. I attempted to find a matching client project and it didn't find it. So as you can see, it wasn't really capable of moving that task into the actual correct list. So this just helps me with concluding super agents are very exciting. And when it's something very deterministic, like summarizing ClickUp tasks or being capable to search the web and browse and come up with a report, these kind of tasks that are very like one way are pretty well taken care of. The ones that are like clarifying are also pretty good. As you can see, like my agents was capable of clarifying the deliverables and the exports and stuff. But as you can see, it didn't put it into the right list. Maybe because the rule set and the guidelines I've given it are not really super accurate. Or maybe it's just because it's a multi-step complex task of being capable of reading an email, knowing into which list it goes, and just dropping it there. Or potentially in the future, assign it to the right person, turn it into a subtask or things like that, like a real PM human. For these things, I'm looking forward to see how ClickUp expands and improves the super agents. But as of now, as a summary, use it for simple linear tasks. Keep your agents simple, don't create too many. Keep one agent per space as a rule of thumb, just one for the admin space, one for the delivery space, for example, and give it linear, well-instructed tasks. That's how I want to conclude with super agents. It's an exciting project from ClickUp, and I understand where they see the convergence between human and AI agentic work. So we are taking a leap and a glimpse into the future with this feature, and I'm very excited for you to test it out and to have a look and to play around with it. And let me know what you think down in the comments if you're capable of creating some cool super agents. I'm excited to hear about use cases. And if you want to explore how we can create super agents for your business, feel free to book a discovery call with us. We sometimes create those agents in ClickUp, but we're also capable of creating super agents or just AI agents within external tools that just interact with ClickUp and kind of like bridge the gap between your Google Drive and your ClickUp or your emails and your ClickUp and create just smart workflows that we can use for automations of your business. Now, as I said, if you're curious about that, book a discovery call with us. The link is down in the description. If you want to get to know more about everything systems, subscribe to this channel, and until then, stay productive.